Riley Hunter. This is my blackjack dealer project plan. So it started out, we've got the description. It's an automated dealer, and it takes two cards and distributes them to three different slots, and one of them being the dealer. And then you make a decision based on that to hit, stand, or if you go over, you bust. The whole deal is to make a successful automated blackjack dealer that could be implemented into future casinos, hypothetically. It'll be located inside an air-conditioned building. There's no exposure to hazards at all, and it doesn't need to be waterproofed or explosive-proof. The power was 120 AC brought into the control enclosure, and then converted into 24 DC, which will power the inputs and outputs. So scan time, I need to purge the airline because the time that it takes to, hit or stand, it doesn't scan fast enough, so you got to purge out the airline so it doesn't jump or have a burst of movement. And the network protocol is just Modbus TCP. So my drawing is what it looks like at point A. That's the power enclosure that allows power for the whole operation to go. At B, this is the point I/O. It gets info from the inputs and tells the outputs to do something. This is the pneumatics air valve station that controls all the pneumatics for the arm here. At point D is a pressure transmitter, and it makes the airflow constant and stable. Then we've got the Bimba arm that slides left and right on this track here, and then the vacuum head moves up and down to essentially pick up the cards and place them. So for parts, I've got all my outputs, my processing unit, communication, enclosures, and then my miscellaneous parts as well. And it's got part numbers, companies, specs, and then links to the parts as well. For my inputs, I've got my analog, which shows the PSI value. And then I've got my sensors, my switches and buttons, and then my safety as well. And then I got a description of all of them, what type they are, what they are, where they're located, and then my tags for them as well. Outputs, same type of deal. I've got my address for them, what they are, the vacuum arm, what type of output they are, what device they are, and what tag they are. Timers, I've got my different timers here, what they do, what type of timer they are, where they're located, what tag they have, what bit, and the purpose for the bit. Same thing with counters. I've got my counters as well. They're just placeholders, and they're count up timers, my location for them both, and then the factory talk tags and what they're doing. For my bill of materials, I went and spec'd out every little piece that was put into this project. It's got a picture of it, part number for it, the quantity, the price of them, and then it adds it up for the whole project. So I've got my power supply, my point I/O, panel view, PLC, my two controllers, the valve system, pressure transmitter, the arm, the rail system, and then the sensors as well. And then I've got materials I used for the wires, how much I used, what color it was, what gauge it was, and then the part number as well. And then I've got my terminal blocks and my labels. And this is linked to all the manuals I found. And that should be it for that. So moving into my CAD drawings, I've got my inputs for each card. So I've got my sensors, that's the physical card itself, what they're all connected to. Same thing with this one. Got my sensor, my switches, my buttons. Moving on to the third one, I've got more buttons here, an e-stop, my tie downs. Then I've got my low voltage side of the circuit. It's got my power supply, my point I/O, and then all that. I got my outputs down here, my card 4. Each output it's controlling, which would be vacuum on, vacuum off, on left or right. The 5th card is arm up, down, and then I've got a light on it as well that tells it to purge. This is the high voltage side of it. It's got my 120 going into my switch, my PLC, and my HMI. Then I've got my analog card, which goes into telling me the PSI value. So this right here is an overview of the project working. So it's dealing out each of the cards. So you purge it out, reset it, hit deal, and then it starts going. My HMI has got a PSI value. It's got indicators for when it's moving and when it's stopped. It's got an e-stop, and then you're able to enable or disable it. I've got directions on how to play, and then I've got like a little blackjack background as well. So it's going through the dealing process currently. You'll be able to hit or stand after the deal is completed. So there it is, and all the other buttons pop up. And then you'll look at the cards, stand, look at the other ones. And then I gotta purge it because it ran out of time. So I'm just going through that process now. And I decided to hit. Decided to hit again. And then it's the dealer's turn. And so they're going to stand, and then that is the end of the game. Right here I'm showing the PSI value going up and down as well. I keep it at 40 when the game is going. And it's just showing the purging again and how it bursts. And that's showing the e-stop, how it stops when you hit the emergency stop. This is the physical e-stop overview of it. So it's going, and then once I hit stop, the arm is stopped. So it goes back to what it was doing. This is the physical side of the operation. So you've got to use the controller and the two-hand anti-tie down to basically make it run. To purge it out, you hit the deal and the hit button at the same time, and that latches the purge. And then to reset, you press the hit and stand button, and then that resets it. Just going to go through an operation here. Going through the dealing process again, same as the HMI. If I were to release any of my either hand off of the anti-tie down, then operation would stop as well. So then the purge light comes on because it waited too long. So I'm going to have to go through the purging process. You got to disable it, hit the purge. Good thing about the physical part of the operation is you don't have to wait for scan times as much as the HMI does. So then the purge light came on, you got to purge again. flip it over, and the game is over, and you won't be able to start it up again until you are done. Moving on to my program, it's got auto enable to enable, it's got the HMI and the physical telling it what it is. It's got a bunch of different resets and timers, tied on safety bits, my bit to purge the line, and then stuff to also disconnect the purge. It's got a different directional purge, and then it's got moving lights, stoplights, and then my subroutines as well. My dealing, it's got the logic that starts the deal, and then everything that kicks it off, and then we've got the arm moving and the vacuum turning on, some more timers, bit to tell the card's picked up, more arm movement stuff that tells it to do, along with timers, and then we've got a bit to turn the vacuum off to drop the card and unlatch. We've got the player timers that give the amount of time for the card to drop eventually. And then we've got resetting timers, and then a bunch of the placeholders for the HMI. The hit logic is pretty much the same as the deal, just a little bit less. Have a bit that says hit, and then unlatch that. This is the counters, so it's the hit counter and the deal counter saying what stage it's at in dealing or hitting, and then it's got a bunch of unlatches as well. It's my scaling that has my PSI going to an actual tag, and that is my stand, same kind of logic as the hit and deal, and then there's my bus, same kind of logic as the other three. Now moving on to the camera operation, that's just showing an overview of the blackjack dealer taking place. So as you can see, I'll enable it, and you'll be able to see the thing moving in real time. Overview, and it's got the IP address on the HMI as well. Moving on to some of my pictures and notes from it. I've got the overview of notes and my thinking process along the whole thing, writing down what colors mean what cards are, what outputs are on the cards, what I did for that day. And I've got kind of like a design of what I wanted my HMI to look like. I got a to-do list as well. And then I've got the manual that I made for both the physical and the HMI. How to purge, how to reset, and then how to play as well. For both the physical and the HMI. So, that was my project. Thank you.